and evaluation through a distance learning lens. We're going to start with some brief introductions.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just had some tech problems, so thanks for bearing with me as I had to change computers. My name is Jennifer Hearn. I'm a resource services consultant at Trillium Demonstration School. I'm in my 5th year there now. I am seconded from the Upper Grand District School Board, and part of Wendy and I share this role. And part of what we do is we offer professional development opportunities for teachers in Ontario. And we do some other things where we help students apply to the program. We support them while they're in the program, and then we help the transition process back. All right, Wendy, that's me.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wendy Farkas. I am also a resource services consultant at Trillium Demonstration School. I'm seconded from the Waterloo Region District School Board, so hello to all you Waterloo folk that are out there today. I was a teacher in technological education for many years with the WRDSB, and over the past years have moved into a more focused LD and special education role, and previously ran one of our PAL programs out of Grand River Collegiate. Thank you so much for joining today. Over to Fleur.
Hi, my name's Fleur Lay, and I am a teacher at Trillium in Hilton, and I work alongside and with and connected to Jen and Wendy. I am seconded from Halton, and this is my first year at Trillium. So I was seconded from Halton, and I was a cert at a school in Burlington at an elementary school. So I'm here learning at Trillium like everybody else, and it's been a great place and lots of great learning this year. So enjoy the workshop, and back to Jen and Wendy.
Jen, if you want to just take us to the next slide. At this point, we're just going to turn off our video feeds for the remainder of the webinar, but we will come back on and join you for our question and answer period later on. Just a quick overview. We're going to go over some of the Zoom features really quickly. So you can see us, but we can't see you. So please use the Q&A room. You'll see that below. If you just tap on your screen, you'll see a Q&A option pop up. For any questions you may have, feel free to ask these questions as often as you want and as you think of them. We may not be able to stop on the spot, but Fleur is going to be monitoring our Q&A in our chat room. If she wants, she can pause us. If it's really important, Fleur, you can stop us and we'll address that question right away. Fleur might be able to answer some questions directly as well, or she's going to collect all of your questions and we will answer them towards the end of our presentation. Many of the materials we just wanted you to know and resources we will share today have been acquired through research, professional development, professional readings, and social media. We hope that the resources will be shared amongst your colleagues and provide some support as we continue to navigate through distance learning. So share freely and widely. We also want to highlight some ways in which you can effectively assess and engage struggling and distracted learners in this online environment. This webinar is being recorded, so we will share it and all of the materials from today in an email later on this week. Go ahead, Jen. Just to let you know how this is going to work, this is actually an interactive slide deck that Jen has put together for us, and it is intended to offer choice to our audience. By clicking on the thumbnails that you see in front of you, it will bring you directly to a specific topic and its supporting materials. The big ideas for today will include developing a shared understanding of assessment as outlined in Growing Success and other ministry documents, developing an understanding of authentic, varied, and meaningful assessments, sharing methods for effective implementation. Also, we're going to explore some cool websites and apps that support differentiated assessment for the LD learner. Jen is going to start off by going to our differentiating slide.
Differentiated instruction and the universal design for learning are identified in the Learning for All document as effective strategies, and I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into them. You may have seen versions of this image before. In the first frame, we have equality. Everyone gets the same thing. This is a group of people who have gathered to watch a ball game. In the second frame, the support has been differentiated, meaning that each person have full access to view the game. And in the third frame, we take it a step further and remove the barrier from the start. This represents the universal design for learning. These two approaches are important for effective teaching and learning in distance education, and they support the creation of inclusive digital classroom environments. This is an ongoing cycle which will vary from student to student and topic by topic. Teachers should be flexible in their instruction and assessment practices based on student need and circumstance. This presentation today is a continuation of our last presentation on differentiated instruction through distance learning. Today's presentation will focus on assessment and evaluation with a student with a learning difference in mind. We will demonstrate effective assessment practices through various engaging and interactive online tools. When assessing students with learning difficulties, one must use multiple means and provide a variety of ways in which to demonstrate understanding of content in order to level the playing field. This includes triangulation of assessment and interaction with learning material. So because this slideshow has been sent up as an interactive presentation, I am going to return back to the main menu by clicking here the home screen. And from here, we are going to go into assessment and evaluation. Wendy, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jen. I'll just wait for that slide to load. There we go. So teachers at Trillium Demonstration School are using a balance of synchronous and asynchronous lessons to keep our students engaged and participating. We really want to acknowledge the value of synchronous learning environments such as daily group video conferencing for regular check-ins, feedback, and community building. The longevity of this situation was definitely not expected. And you may find, like we are, that students are struggling emotionally and losing a bit of momentum. Keeping lessons fun and interactive will help to encourage distracted learners to participate. It will provide the means for struggling students to fully immerse themselves and pave the way to rich, authentic learning and assessment opportunities. Asynchronous learning environments such as flipped classrooms are a common technique used by Trillium teachers also. Later on in this presentation, we're going to demonstrate an interactive math classroom where students can watch instructional content ahead of time and as often as they need to, that is the key, to help reinforce and solidify new learning. Students with learning differences, we know, have average to above average cognitive abilities, but they often struggle to show what they know unless given varied output opportunities to demonstrate learning. Jan, I'm just going to get you to click on that link that says Assessment Planner for me and open that up. This slide deck and all of the links and resources will be sent to you later on in this week with the recording, so feel free to make copies and use all of the resources that we're sharing today. Using an assessment planner template such as this one enables educators to plan activities and triangulation of assessment whereby struggling learners can show what they know via conversations, observations, and products. Today, we will highlight Google Slides, Jamboard, Kahoot, and Screencastify. Okay, Jen, we can return to our home slide.
I think we have tools next.
Thank you, Jen.
Did I go too far? Wendy, between you and I, our connection is lagging.
Yeah, sorry, we're lagging a little bit, but I can see the assessment tool screen now. Everybody, if you could just let Fleur know in the chat, if you can see it, it should say assessment tools for as of learning, and you should see the triangulation of assessment thumbnail below. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about assessment tools next. Distance learning brings on many new challenges in classroom management and assessment. So we want to hear from you about your experiences in the classroom. Which has been the most challenging mode of assessment during distance learning? Would it be conversations, observations, or products? And which has been the easiest? So I'm just going to launch a quick poll here. Please go ahead, take a couple of minutes, take a look at the poll, and feel free to answer. We are curious, what are you experiencing? What's the most challenging mode of assessment? What's the easiest mode of assessment? Okay. All right, it looks like we're slowing down a little bit now. I'm just looking at our leaderboard here. So as far as the most challenging mode of assessment, it looks like observations are the hardest or the most challenging. And then which one is the easiest? Conversations and products. Absolutely. So we're going to share with you today based on some research that we've done. We've been doing a lot of networking across Ontario with other boards to find out some of the unique and innovative ways teachers are able to assess via distance learning. So you can just go ahead and close that poll out. Jen, if you don't mind, click on that thumbnail for me.
Which thumbnail, Wendy?
The triangulation of assessment, the image.
Oh, I see. I know. Yep. Yep. Sorry about that. Got it.
Sorry, we're having some lag issues with our connection today. So these are some of the ways in which teachers across Ontario have shared with us that they're able to record observations, products, and conversations during assessment and distance learning. I'm just going to highlight a few. So for observations, a lot of teachers are using live interactive whiteboards such as Jamboard, which we'll feature today. Kami is also a really awesome Chrome extension. It's a text annotation tool, but it can turn into a live interactive whiteboard. Some boards may not have access to these tools, so some teachers are turning Google Drawings and sharing access across their class and turning those into an interactive platform as well. Some teachers have shared that they've actually made checklists to connect with parents and ask for parents to report observations to them. For conversations, lots of things happening right now. Some teachers are having students create products or discussions and post to their Google Stream, create audio recordings of themselves on tools like Vocaroo or Screencastify, which we'll feature a little bit later on today. And even some teachers are blogging. So they're having their students set up blogging accounts whereby teachers and their peers can comment on each other's blogs and provide for some rich peer assessment, as well as initiating conversations and feedback. Okay, Jen, you can return to the home screen or the next slide. There we go. Thank you so much. Leveraging digital tools will help to make assessment authentic and diverse. Here is an additional list of digital tools by assessment type. Jen, you can go ahead and click on the thumbnail. Just a reminder, we're going to be sharing this slide deck, all of the resources and all of the links with you, so don't feel like you have to quickly write all of these down. Jen's just going to quickly click on the thumbnail and show it to you so you know that it's there. So we've broken down tons of different ed tech and digital tools by category based on some of the collaboration we've been doing with boards across Ontario. So a lot of great tools to use for learning. Mentimeter is a really great polling or quiz option. It's very, very visual. We use Vocaroo a lot at our school, so it enables the teacher to either make a quick recording and upload it to a presentation, so a student who may be struggling to read can listen to the instructions, but students are also using them to record what they know and submitting those to teachers as well. And we've got a whole list of ed tech tools that you could consider for assessment of learning. Okay, Jen, you can go back to the main presentation. Jen is going to be talking to us about feedback next. So we're just going to wait for her to get back. There we go.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Students with learning Students with learning differences often become easily distracted. To encourage understanding of success criteria, ask them to help you set expectations. This requires the student to perform a think aloud, whereby the student is repeating instructions back to you, but also taking that information and applying it in an authentic way. This provides a rich learning experience and encourages collaboration and design thinking principles. Employers are looking for transferable skills, and this is a great way to encourage the development of 21st century competencies. Also, students need consistent and ongoing feedback, whether this platform be synchronous, whereby you are having live video conversations with students, or through asynchronous methods such as Google Comments. Meet students where they are learning and coach them to achieve their best. Our interactive math classroom will demonstrate how to share exemplars and success criteria in the online environment. I'll take us back to, well, I was going to go back to the home screen and then on to big ideas. During distance learning, we are to focus on the big ideas and think about the backward design for learning. So we are continuing to look at those overall expectations, and those overall expectations are broad in nature. It is best practice to integrate curriculum strands, integrate subjects. You can even integrate grades together to accomplish fulfilling the big ideas from the curriculum expectations. So the next slide is going to take us to our virtual math class. It is a grade 5 math class, and the strand is measurement. And the overall expectations, we're going to look at the bottom one, is to determine the relationships among units and measurable attributes, including the area of a rectangle and the volume of a rectangular prism. So we're going to go to our math class now. Whoops, I'm sorry, I went back too far. And I'm going to enter it here. Feedback, assessment, and evaluation strategies, as well as tools and resources, will be shared via a math classroom that we have designed for this presentation. This presentation and a working template of this virtual math class will be shared with you at the end of the presentation for future reference. This is an example of a working learning menu or choice board that could be adapted for any subject or classroom. The benefits of a learning menu or choice board for students when differentiating or following the principles of universal design for learning include flexibility. Students can work at their own pace, and students can look ahead to prepare for the next class or review previous material for further understanding. Using learning menus, choice boards, or virtual classrooms increases the students' independence and develops important 21st century skills, such as self-directed learning, time management, and communication on a digital platform. I will take a few minutes here to walk you through the features of this virtual math class. This class was designed on Google Slides and is created by linking images and text to other slides in the presentation, shared documents from my Drive, PDFs, images, websites, and videos. This is the main or the home page of the class. Think of it like a video game menu. Each interactive image or text box that is clicked will take you directly to the information, tools, and resources you need. Kind of like a choose your own adventure game. Okay, on this page here, now I did have to make a quick computer switch right for this presentation, so my cursor isn't as large as I would like, but I want to do my best to highlight the features of this virtual math class homepage. So the homepage we have announcements. We do know that students with learning differences may have trouble accessing text. So Wendy has added a Vocaroo here, and we want to demonstrate to you how we can take text on this platform and how we can support our learners who learn better through audio. Here it is. So the Vocaroo website pops up. And Wendy has pre-recorded this.
Hello everybody, welcome to your online math class. Click each day of the week to access your work. This week's assignment is to calculate the volume of an object. You will create a visual representation of your object in a Google drawing. Everything you're going to need is just a click away. Click on each day of the week when it's time. Also, take a look at all of our tools, examples, success criteria, rubrics, and feedback documents at the bottom of your classroom.
Thank you, Wendy, for recording that. So I would like to highlight for you this week's assignment. So the student would be able to come to their main page if they were having trouble with the text or what to do with all of this on this page. A Vocaroo has been prepared for them. And now we are going to click to see what this week's assignment is about. Takes us right to it. So right away on Monday, the students can see what it is they're working towards to accomplish by Friday. Now this will be shared with you, so I'm not going to go through all the steps, but the students are required to measure a space in their yard, balcony, porch, or deck where they could build a garden box. Here it says this week's assignment is to calculate the volume of an object. You will create a visual representation of your object in Google Drawings. We're going to go through the days of the week in a minute, but before we do, I just want to highlight what these tabs are for at the bottom. So this home page is to act as a launching point for everything a student will need for success in this unit. So I'm going to highlight the tools, and here on the tools page, if a student needs a calculator and they don't have one at home, we're going to take them right to the calculator that I have preset it to be. My apologies, I'm having some internet concerns. So there's the calculator I preset. Now, for some students who may have trouble knowing how to draw a rectangular prism, I've added a video here, and it's just a how to draw one. And then here is an instructional video that the students are going to watch this week in class, but I've put it here as a tool in case they need to rewatch it. It will be much simpler for them to access it from the main menu than flipping back through all the assignments that were previously assigned to find it. Alrighty, we're gonna start our week on Monday. Each day of the week features a goal, announcements, or instructions with audio support on Vocaroo, key terms and information, as well as live links to the day's lessons. A link to an instructional video is included here, as well as on the tools page for later reference. Kahoot is a game-based learning platform that we're going to use. It is a great resource to use to engage students and sustain their attention. It can be used as an assessment tool, as a form of pre-assessment to find out what students know about the topic, and that's how we're going to use it today. You can use it throughout a lesson to measure student engagement and understanding, and as summative assessment to measure knowledge and understanding of concepts. If you go on to the Kahoot website, there are a lot of preloaded and widely available Kahoots that have already been created by educators. You can also create your own, or you can take something that's there that you like and use part of it and adjust it to your needs. During distance learning, you can request free access to premium features. Students can play a live game together in a virtual classroom or work offline and complete the Kahoot when they are available to do so. In the offline self-paced mode, both the question screen and answer screen are presented at the same time. Kahoot is fully customizable. You can adjust the amount of time given to respond to a question, add videos, links, images, and documents from the web or from your files. One disadvantage to Kahoot for students who struggle with text is there is not yet an audio function enabled for the text. So for students who are having difficulty with the text and language, it may be best to play the live version. So what I would ask of you to do is to, hang on, let me find it here. If you go to, for those of you that would like to join and play a game and have a little fun, it'll just take a few minutes. If you go to kahoot.it, you will be able to join. It's 5 questions. They actually are on volume, and this is a pre-assessment to determine what students already know. Now, once you're there, I'm going to go to my Kahoot and I'm going to press play. Here's where I can pick if I want to do it in a virtual classroom live or later for self-paced learning. We're going to do it right now. We're going to play a classic game. Okay, I'm going to turn that sound off. It always has that funky music when you start. Okay. You need to go to kahoot.it, or if you have a mobile device and you have the app, you can enter this. And I see people entering already. We've got some Kahoot players joining. So if you don't want to join, that's okay. We've already got lots of people coming in and you can see what happens. Now, I do want to explain to you right now that it may be hard for you to play if you're on the computer. You'll need to split your screen so that you can see my presentation screen and so that you can see your, whoops, not that one. Or so the end so that you can see that. So what I mean by splitting the screen is literally putting these into 2 parts. We're going to play in just a minute. So I did this today with a group of kids in one of our Trillium classes, and I split the screen, and we had a really, really fun time playing. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my positioning of everything on my, there we go. Okay. 23 players, so we're going to get started. I'm going to close that. I wanted to demonstrate how you would tell a student who does not have a computer and a mobile device that they can split their screen and still play. Okay. Now I know there are a few people in every class who do struggle with text. They may not want themselves known. So just for that reason, I am going to read the questions and level the playing field. Are you ready for those players? So this is a quiz. What is volume? Red, the amount of time, the amount of 3-dimensional space an object occupies. Yellow, it's a step in the scientific process. Blue, a type of shape, or green, all of the above. So I see lots of answers coming in. Now I've set the time for 30 seconds. If this were my grade 5 math class, oh, whoa, look at this, we've got a bunch of people. So this is really interesting. All 25 people got it correct, but what it is going to do is place people on a leaderboard and give points. So SP answered really, really quickly. And they show 5 people on the leaderboard, and then sometimes they give a little bit more information later. So it would be great if a few people made a couple errors along the way, because I'd like to show you the teacher features at the end. What is the formula to find volume? Red, height times height. Yellow, length times circumference. Blue, length times height. Green, length times width times height. Oh, look at that. 23 participants got that correct. And the others were really close. So I thank you very much for showing what that would look like. And there are reports that I'll show you so that we can see which students were struggling and how we can best support them. Oh boy, look at the people moving up the leaderboard, but SP's holding strong by 10 points. So if we want to beat SP, you've got to answer really quickly. Let's see, how many cubic units does this figure have? 5, red is 5 cubic centimeters, yellow is 6 cubic centimeters, Blue is 4 cubic centimeters and green is 18 cubic centimeters. Oh, well done. Oh, that's interesting because I don't even think that's correct. Look at the glitches you find as you go. Hicks has moved up. Now, the player named Kahoot is on a streak, has the highest answer streak of 3, and Hicks has moved up, and there was a glitch on that one. What is the total volume of this figure? 16 cubic centimeters, 6 cubic centimeters, 9 cubic centimeters, or none of the above? Well, that's interesting. There are a few glitches in MESA, and this is such a good real life example of what teaching online is really like. Lots and lots of glitches, and we roll with the punches and follow it up with the kids after. Good job. Okay, we have one more question, and then we're gonna head back to the present. I wanna show you the teacher dashboard, and then we can head back to the presentation. What is the volume of this prism? 9 cubic centimeters is red, yellow is 32 cubic centimeters, blue is 160 cubic centimeters, and green is 17 cubic centimeters. Good job, everyone. So the kids love watching the fun little podium at the end to see how they did. Some of the kids get really competitive. It's quite funny. Hicks, well done. Okay, now I can go down to the bottom and I can get the feedback and I can look at a report. Now, of course, there were a few glitches on this one, so it's not as accurate as we would like. But in this report, I can determine who was playing, the average amount of time that the kids took, which questions most of the kids struggled on and in which area. This was a very, very simple pre-assessment. They can be much more advanced than this, but it's a fun way to gather assessment information about the kids. So that's Monday. Now, Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm just going to look at quickly. There's not much information there. We're going to jump ahead to Thursday and Friday. So on Tuesday, what we have it set up with the same way with a Vocaro to support the text. We have an itemized list of what's going to be taking place in the class that day, a link to a gizmo where the students can get additional practice. And that link is shared with you as well. And here are some other suggestions of what you could include on a page for the day. Wednesday looks very similar, but on Wednesday it's a work period. So there's time for students to work on a worksheet and meet with the teacher online, one-on-one, or in small groups for feedback. Now, moving along and over to Thursday we are, and Wendy's teaching Thursday's class.
Thanks so much, Jen. So when we get to Thursday at this point, what we want to do is make sure we're providing our students with an exemplar, which we have prepared ahead of time, and it is linked to the main dashboard. And then we're going to build some success criteria together. So they would be joining us live on a Google Meet first thing in the morning. And again, we have included the audio file there for struggling readers. So the first thing that we would do is we would go ahead and build our exemplar. Now, for the sake of time, I think we're going to skip past this part. I'm going to talk a little bit about it because it's already 20 to 1. We were supposed to end off at 12:45, so we're going to run a little bit over today. Everyone, I hope that you can stay on with us for at least another 15 minutes. If not, we are recording this session. So attached to that thumbnail that Jen is hovering over is a Screencastify, which I've created, that demonstrates our exemplar. Screencastify is a Chrome browser extension that enables you to record your screen, face, and voice to create videos. Teachers can create screencasts to create lessons or how-to videos as instructional tools, but it's also a really powerful assessment tool. So in this link, you can watch this later on, it will demonstrate how a student can take their finished product and they can cast their screen and explain their reasoning. So if a student is still struggling by the time they get to Thursday and they don't quite understand the concept of volume or how to calculate volume of a rectangular prism, you can at least watch the video as they're going through their thinking and try to pinpoint the parts that they need help with. We are going to feature Jamboard though. So Jen, I am going to get you to click on that Jamboard link. This is a really neat tool. Now, Jamboard is an interactive whiteboard that's part of G Suite for Education. So if you are a Google school, then you should have access to Jamboard. It facilitates peer collaboration in either a synchronous or an asynchronous environment. And here, what we've done is we've created a Jamboard ahead of time to demonstrate how students and teachers can build success criteria for an assignment together. So at this point, we're going to assume that they've seen the exemplar already. They've seen what it's supposed to look like. They've watched my screencast. They've watched me demonstrate my reasoning. And now we're going to collaborate together to really make sure that they have a good grasp of what they need to do in order to be successful. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the features of Jamboard, and I'm just going to guide Jen along if she could point to them as we go. If we look at the top of the menu, we see there's an option to change the background. Jen, if you want to just click on that for me. We're not going to change the background right now, but I wanted to point that out because I'm going to show you something really, really cool later on, okay? Now, down the left-hand side of the screen, there's an oblong menu that Jen's going to go to. Just hover over that first one for me, Jen. Thank you. So by clicking on that, it activates a pen tool. You can choose any color and you can choose the style of pen that you're going to use, and students can write directly on the Jamboard. Let's go down to the next menu option. The next one is an eraser, so they can erase what they don't want on there. Next tool is a selection tool. So if you want to click and drag things around the screen, you can use the selection tool. The next tool, thanks Jen, the next tool is a sticky note. So this is where we can start some cool collaboration. So clicking on this will activate your sticky note. You can choose the color you want. You can type the messaging in there as well. But you can shrink and you can expand and you can drag those sticky notes around all over the place. So you want to just hit the cancel button for me, Jen. Awesome. So we're just going to assume for the sake of this assignment that the yellow sticky notes are the teacher, and maybe the pink sticky note is a student, and the green sticky notes are different students. So you're identifying who it is that's collaborating. Those can be clicked and dragged around. You can also actually click on the sticky notes and kind of change the orientation and swivel them around. It's a really neat tool. The last tool, I'm going to skip past the second last tool for now because I'm going to show you that one in a second. But the very last tool is a laser pointer. So Jen, if you want to click on that and then just bring your mouse over to the screen so the teacher or a student, if they're presenting, can be using a laser pointer as they go through to point out specific parts of the presentation. At the very top right hand of the screen next to the share button, you'll see 3 dots. We call it the snowman. If you click on that, another neat feature is that you can then download this Jamboard. Once it's complete, you can download it as a PDF. So you could actually literally build a really cool visual rubric together, download it, and then upload it to your Google Classroom or your interactive math classroom. I'm going to show you one other functionality of Jamboard as well that's really neat. So in the middle of the screen, you'll see that there's panes. It says 1/2. Click on the arrow to the right on the top middle of the screen. Thank you so much, Jen. So Jamboard is not just for sticky notes. We mentioned gizmos a little bit earlier on today for the Tuesday activity, but if you don't have access to that tool, here's another way that you can use Jamboard to create a measurement manipulative for formative assessment. So the tool on the left-hand side, the second last tool is an import image tool. So you can download, you can download any image. You can Google anything, you can download stuff, you can add stuff from your Google Drive, and you can upload it. So that's what I've done here. I've gone on and I've looked for images of rectangular prisms. I've chosen 2 different images. I've saved those to my computer, and then I've uploaded them onto my Jamboard. And I've changed my background as well. So you can change the background to black or blue, but you can also put this really great grid pattern on it if you're wanting to use this for math activities, because you can teach the kids to measure out this prism just by counting the blocks on the grid system that appear in the background. But what I've also done is we've added sticky notes. So in this manipulative, we're going to ask the students to do 2 things. The first task is going to be to label the length, width, and height of each prism. So Jen can just click on, you can click on the sticky notes and drag them and label them. So you can share this as an interactive whiteboard with multiple students, but you could also duplicate this and create multiple panes if you wanted to have breakout groups. You could have groups of 3 or groups of 4 working on panes together. You could have, individual students working on their own, depending on the class size you have and the instructional needs of the student. The second thing that we can do on this Jamboard, we're going to ask the students to calculate the volume. So what they're going to do now is they're going to actually just click and drag the ruler. So we've uploaded an image of a ruler that you can click and you can drag over to the prism on the right. So just click and drag it over to the prism on the right. So also you can change the orientation, Jen. So if you just drop the ruler for a second, you see that orientation option on the top left. If you click and drag that, you will be able to swivel the ruler around. Just click on that point. There you go. We're just getting a bit of lag. So you can click and drag and you can move the ruler around, and you can then create an interactive activity where students can measure the object and calculate the formula. All right, we're going to go over to our last lesson for Friday, and then we're going to wrap things up. Thank you, Jen. So on Friday, the students will complete their summative assignment and a short self-assessment on Google Forms. The data gathered will provide teachers with information about how students demonstrate their knowledge and understanding through a meaningful and authentic assessment task. The self-assessment will provide teachers insight into how the students are feeling about themselves as learners, and also as a basis for future planning. You will note that throughout the week's activities on our interactive math classroom that we've varied communication and regular feedback have been really constant. As we navigate through distance learning, now more than ever, we need to maintain our relationships with students and stay connected. Thank you, Jen. So this brings us to the end of our presentation. We want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today. Here is our contact information. So we have Jen's email, my email, and Fleur's email as well. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter if you'd like. I'll be tweeting out about upcoming webinars in the fall. And we have one more webinar happening next Monday, which is our Trillium profile presentation. So if you want to learn all about our school and how students can apply to the school and how teachers can support them in that process, please do join us and sign up for that one as well. Fleur, do we have any questions?
we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A, as well as a couple of questions on the chat. I think with the chat ones, we could answer those. One was answered by Jen. Another one is, can teacher and students co-work on a Jamboard if the teacher shares with the student?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you did answer that. How did you get the ruler transparent on the Jamboard math activity?
So if you go to Google Images and you do a search for a ruler, there's a tools option. If you click on transparent, then you will find a transparent image that you can add to any presentation Jamboard, and you won't get that background noise on it. You'll just get the actual image itself, which you can lay on top of your Jamboard, slideshow, whatever it is you're using it for.
Okay, so can Vocaroo be used in Jamboard?
That's a really good question. I haven't tried it yet, but we could try doing it on a sticky note and linking. So Vocaroo is a web-based recording tool. So you would go to www.vocaroo.com, and as long as you've got a mic and speakers on your computer, you can record right away. What happens once you save it, it spits out a link. So either you can take that link and you can share that. So that's what we've done. We took that link and we hyperlinked it to those little audio images on our interactive classroom, but you can also download the file if you prefer as well. I know that some boards don't like using Vocaroo, so if you used it on your personal device, you downloaded it as a WAV file or an MP3, you can upload it through your Google Drive that way. But I would try doing the recording and copying the link and pasting it onto a sticky note.
Okay, so can you use a Google Doc as a background to a Jamboard?
I don't know, I haven't tried that yet. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I know you can add backgrounds from, like, if you do a Google search and you wanted to add a background, you could do that from using Jamboard in the past with my students. I just don't know about, I've never tried it with a Google Doc, just a background from a Google image search.
You can put the link on it. So if you can't, so oftentimes if I'm putting an image on, I'll go to the insert menu, I'll insert image from my Google Drive, for example. If you try that, it won't allow you to insert the Jamboard itself. What you could do is just put a hyperlink to it. You could even take an image of the Jamboard, stick it on your Google Doc and put the hyperlink underneath it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so those are the questions from the chat room. But in the Q&A, there are some questions in there. So one of the first ones from the beginning of the presentation was, which tools would you suggest for young students, such as SK grade 1 or grade 2? Tools for working in synchronous and asynchronous distance learning environment.
That's a really good question.
Sorry, Wendy, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I think that designing a very, very simple learning menu or virtual classroom would be a really good start. Obviously, the grade 5 classroom that I created is for much more advanced users. But if you, Wendy, when we send out the follow-up email, let's send out the how-to make a choice board. And there's even a choice board with a few things. So within that choice board, if the kids were maybe sorting, I'm thinking for math and maybe they're sorting, within that there could be some activities and some links there that you could link to videos that you want them to watch. I didn't play it, but we had a math antics video as part on Monday of the classroom. And there's also, in our last presentation, we featured boom cards, and boom cards would have some activities that would be really suitable for that level. And there, it's an interactive online educational game platform. Again, there's many games that are already made, and you can get them on some popular teacher websites. So check out boom cards and consider making a choice board. Now, we are going to save this choice board to you as a Google slide, so you can see the mechanics and what went behind the scene. But if I wanted to make it more simple for my students, I would save it as a PDF and then either email the PDF to the parent or save or put it out on my Google Classroom, however you communicate with the students. And then the links still work when it is a PDF, but it simplifies the platform. So the kids never actually get to see that it's a slideshow. They just sort of see it as an interactive menu, similar to the many games they play online on iPads and on video games.
Okay, so just a couple, do you have something else for me?
Yeah, I just wanted to say as a parent, so my daughter's in grade 2. I think it's important that, like Jen said, you keep it simple, because if this is going to be reality in September and parents may have to be going back to work even on a part-time basis, you're going to want kids to be able to navigate through that. Having said that, you know, kindies would have a lot of trouble with that. Keeping it simple, very interactive, as Jen said, using lots of manipulatives. So you could create manipulatives on Jamboard like we've shown you today, a really simple interactive Google Classroom. Also Flippity, which is a tool that we modeled in our last webinar, is awesome. There are a ton of different web applications on there. You can create Jeopardy games, you can create Hangman games, you can create really easy digital escape rooms, and lots of really cool sorting activities and different things that are really colorful and really engaging for like that young learner. And they could follow independently as long as they know they have to just click on a hyperlink.
Okay, so there's another question. If you link a Google Doc for students to turn in a slideshow, do they each get a copy, or do they have to make their own copy? I'm just trying to process that in my head. But there's another part to it. Can they turn it in like they would in the Google Classroom, or do they have to share it with you? So if you link a Google Doc for students to turn in, if you link it in a slideshow,
yes, it should still work, because when you've created that Google Doc, then you actually have to create your sharing permissions.
mm-hmm.
So it would get shared out to the students.
Yeah, because I do that with my students. I do that with my students every day, because in my virtual classroom, I share the Google Doc assignment that we work on, and they each get a copy in their Google, like in their classroom, and then they work on it and then share it with me. Well, they don't have to share it back, but turn it in.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to manage it. I do the same. So I have a digital classroom. It's more visual. It's nicer for them to look at. It's, you know, sort of, it's easier for them to navigate than going through like the chronological appearance of a Google Classroom. But I have all of my activities linked to those activities on my Google Classroom, so that I can go ahead, I can create the assignment, I can make a copy for each student, and then I just link that assignment to my choice board so that it's doing all that background work for me, but it's nice and pretty and easy for the kids to access on the choice board.
Yeah. All right. So can Jamboard be used as an assignment in Google Classroom?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. You can create multiple assignments. The manipulative that I did was just like one example. I've seen teachers use it in music classrooms where they've uploaded like sheet music and they've created interactive manipulatives. You can upload animated images like GIFs instead of just still images. Lots of cool things that you can do with that. You can absolutely assign it through your Google Classroom.
Okay, and there's another Jamboard question. Is there any way to see which person made modifications to a Jamboard like you can in other Google Docs or slides?
That is a good question. You know, I haven't had to do that. I don't know. I will look into that and I will respond to that question when we when we send our follow-up materials yesterday. And I haven't come across a scenario where I've had to do that yet.
Okay. Just two more questions. Is there a time limit with Vocaroo Well, that's the question. Is there a time limit with Wokaroo?
Not that I have found. Jen, what about you?
I haven't found that. Now at Trillium, we do keep our instructions simple and concise and broken down into multiple parts, but we haven't come across that.
Yeah. If you're using the link format, I know the links, they don't stay live for an indefinite period of time, like maybe a couple of months. So if it's a resource that you're developing that you want to use next year, I would download the sound or the audio file that you created instead of just using the link to share it.
Okay, and our last question is, what program was used to create the weekly schedule that's in the presentation?
That was made on Google Slides.
Okay.
And I can quickly show you. I'll go back to the, I'll escape the presentation mode. And you should be able to see here how, what you end up doing is I'll go to the classroom there, which is slide 11. Slide 12 is Monday. So what you do, and when we send out our follow-up, we'll send you a really quick, great starting point for making your own choice boards or learning menus, how to do it. So what you end up doing is when I click Monday, you'll see that I've added, I can edit it. So I put a text box over the Monday and I want to link it to slide 12 so I can link it to a website or something on my drive, or I can link it to a slide on the slideshow. So for this particular one, it links to slide 12 and I apply it and I go back. So then if I go to slide 12, in presentation mode, you don't have to do the 2 clicks. Here, I want to return back to the math class homepage. I've linked that back to slide 11. So there's links all over the place. Here, this particular link takes me right to a YouTube video. And the Kahoot link, I've got it in 2 spots. It's the same link. It takes me to kahoot.it for the kids to play the game. So it's, and to add those links, what you do is you highlight the box, you can right click it. Oh, sometimes it doesn't show up on right click. I don't know what you guys have found, but you can go to insert on the menu at the top. And this is where you'll scroll down. You can also click Control K, and that's how. And so you literally put a text box as the very last layer on each image or each word, and that's how you add your links. And you can link within the slide deck, or you can link to outside sources. So think of it like a choose your own adventure where you keep looping yourself back around, or a video game menu like the kids play these days. I hope that answers your question.
For those of you that are still with us, I just looped back in while Jen was talking and I checked a Jamboard that I've done with one of my classes, and it doesn't look like there is an option to change history, like if a kid makes a mistake or changes somebody else's response. But Lisa in our attendees group has said that what she does is she just has the student actually put their name on it. So Wendy, my contribution. You could also color code it, but also because you can create multiple panes. Some of you guys are teaching in larger classroom sizes. If you're high school teachers, you may have, you know, classes of 30 or 35. I would have sort of breakout Jamboards, and rather than having a big massive group collaborate on one Jamboard, you could narrow it down to smaller groups.
Okay, so while we were chatting and answering questions and demonstrating some, you know, of the tools and the techniques for creating all of this information, a couple of other questions popped up. So one in the chat room, if we're using choice boards and linking Google Slides and Docs for specific assignments, should we still assign these separately? I think we sort of answered that, didn't we? In terms of the sharing permissions?
Yeah, Jen and I were looking to maybe put together a little make and take session. I know a few people from our last webinar were interested. So if you're interested in sort of a choice board make and take session, send us an email. You can either email either of us. Email addresses are just up on the screen, and let us know and we can invite you to that. And I think it might be easier if we just kind of go through it together if you come in with a sense of what it is that you're looking to accomplish, we can sort of help you make that happen.
Okay, and one last question. Someone wants, where can we locate the slide deck within the presentation? It's like the choice boards, I'm assuming, and what you were just demonstrating, Jen.
Where can we locate what part, Fleur?
The slide deck, I guess the learning, maybe.
So the way we have it set up now, if you look at the left-hand side, you can see we have the entire presentation all in one slide deck. What we're going to share with you is that entire presentation, but we're also going to share with you just the math class as a choice board. So you will see all our content presented to you in two ways. One where we've just taken out this virtual math class. I'm going to save it as a Google slide when we share it with you so that you will still see all these layers that have been built, how to move them, you can manipulate it. So Wendy's going to send out an email tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on how our week goes, with how to make a choice board, our presentation, the virtual math class, and I have sharing permissions on there so you can just make a copy of it and edit it, change it up for your classes. What else, Wendy, were we going to share? So we'll email you. And if you want something else added, just like Wendy said, send it along to our email, and we will, if you think it's something that the participants, you have a question about and you think the participants might want to know that too, we'll send that out.
Yeah, we'll send you a whole bunch of stuff. For just quickly, for the participant who wanted to know if you could insert a Jamboard into a Google Doc, I did the same. I just went in and I checked. Unfortunately, no, it doesn't seem to be as versatile as slides, but my recommendation would be, you know, as Jen has created this virtual classroom, is to put a thumbnail image on there for to represent your Jamboard. So you could download, you know, the Jamboard logo and stick it on a Google slide. And then you would just link your Jamboard to that image so that all the student has to do is click on it. Yeah.
Just like we did here. So this is where Wendy included an image. She laid over top of that image an invisible link. And when we click that, it takes the student right to it. These choice boards with these live hyperlinks really eliminate, well, I shouldn't say eliminate, they really enhance productivity. The kids get exactly what they need. It's right at the click of their fingertips. They're not searching the internet for a calculator. They're not having to go back to their classroom and scroll up to Monday when the Jamboard was first created. Sometimes if we use KWL charts as a means of assessment, we want to know, you know, the K and the W, but the L we wouldn't be revisiting till the end of the week. So you want these links to be accessible to the kids. So that's where a choice board becomes in really handy. You know, when we do go back and look at the main page, our examples are here. There's an example Google drawing here. We didn't go into all of this, so take a little time when you get this presentation and just dive right into the classroom. It works best in present mode. And then here's Wendy's example of the screencast. So when you get this stuff, dive right into it and check it out. But everything a student needs is right here at their fingertips to be successful in this week's math class.
Feel free to reach out. Send us an email if you have any questions as well, and we'll support you.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. I wish you well as you wrap up your school year and distance learning. What a change it's been. Enjoy your summer. And if you do have any questions, there'll be webinars and maybe even workshops next year. If you have any questions about the students that attend the school on how to apply, please do reach out or join next week's webinar. We'll cover that a little bit more in depth.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.